Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Sake. Sorry I haven't posted anything all week. I've been pretty busy. Congrats to the USA men's basketball team for winning gold once again. And now, what I want to do is go over my free agency grades for all the NBA teams. And there's still a couple good free agent pieces out there, like a Paul Millsap or Dennis Schroeder or something like that. But for the most part, all the names or most of the big names are taken off the board. So let's go through the teams and see how they did. Let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. I'm giving them a B minus. So they kept all their players, which is good. But the problem is I wanted to see them get that at least second All Star, preferably Superstar for Trae Young, but if not All Star. And I'm sorry, John Collins is not an All Star yet, but I'm not sure he can maybe be able to get there at some point. But right now he's not there, so therefore you just have one All Star again. And with a bunch of teams in the East getting better, like a Chicago or Miami, it's just like it's gonna be hard for Atlanta to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston Celtics, I'm giving them a D. And D's being generous here. Yeah, you signed Enes Kanter to a one-year deal as a good backup center. You got Al Horford back, who played well for you. You acquired Josh Richardson and Trey. He's a good rotation guy, but it's just like, I mean, you didn't do anything here to get yourself better. So it wouldn't surprise me if they are in the play-in tournament again this year. Brooklyn Nets, I'm giving them a B plus. I predicted Blake Griffin and Bruce Brown Jr. Re-signed the Nets, and I was right. Brown's a good defender, and Blake played well for them in the playoffs. Also, KD signing his extension is really good if you're the Nets fan. Now, what's interesting is they get James Johnson. He's an underrated good 3-and-D guy, which the Nets desperately needed. But then they get Patty Mills to be their backup point guard, which is good. Patty Mills is a good shooter, good leader, and all that. But the problem is, if you're the Nets, your only weakness is defense. So if I were the Nets, I would have gone after a lot more 3-and-D guys like Iguodala or Arisia or Tucker or something like that. If you could have got at least two more of those guys or another one of those guys, then okay, now you're talking because now you got multiple 3-and-D guys. So that's why the Brooklyn doesn't get a perfect score there. But at least they did what they could. They did more than I thought they were going to, which is surprising. Next is the Charlotte Hornets. I'm giving them B. I think getting another score to help LaMelo Ball and Kelly Oubre Jr. was a good move, and then you get a good backup point guard, Ish Smith, and then you had a good draft, so you developed depth and all that. So Charlotte's deep now. So don't sleep on Charlotte this year. I know it's a big if, but if Gordon Hayward can stay healthy all year, Charlotte can make some serious noise. Not necessarily get to East Conference Finals or anything like that, but they can make the playoffs and not get an upset in the first round. Like they can do some damage. They could be the new Atlanta of last year. Next is the Chicago Bulls. I'm giving them an obvious A. Now they don't get the perfect A plus because despite all the moves they made, they're not winning the finals or anything, which that's the ultimate goal of your team. But in this case, if you're lucky, you make it to East Conference Finals, so at least you're relevant, which you haven't been in a while since the Rose and Butler days. So good for Chicago. Next is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm giving them a D minus. You traded for veteran Ricky Rubio, and then you got Jared Allen to sign succession, which is good because he's a good center. But once again, it's like players don't want to come to Cleveland, and you suffer because of that. Next is the Dallas Mavericks. I'm giving them a B. So resigning Tim Hardaway Jr. was needed, and they did that. Then they got good 3-and-D guys in Reggie Bullock and Sterling Brown. And then you resign Boban, obviously. But the problem is there's still one more roster spot move that needs to be made, and it's finding that backup point guard who can go get his own shot, because you saw what happened in the playoffs when Luka went to the bench. It's like Brunson's a nice point guard, but he's not the type of point guard that's going to get your own shot and score a bunch of points, and that's what they need. At this point, it's like they could get a Dennis Schroeder, but I wouldn't want that since I'm a Mavs fan. It's like, so at this point, you got to go trade for Dragic or trade for someone at this point. They could still trade Porzingis at this point, but I think at this point he's going to just stay. I think Jason Kidd wants to see what he can do with him first before he'd be willing to trade him. Next is the Denver Nuggets. I'm giving them a B plus. They re-signed 3 good contributors, which is good, and Will Barton, Austin Rivers, Michael Green. They all played well for them. And then they signed Jeff Green to a 2-year, $10 million deal, which I thought was pretty good, because we saw Jeff Green with the Brooklyn Nets last year. He was a very valuable contributor in the playoffs. So this could be the difference, of getting in past the round or getting to the finals, whatever. So I like the science that Denver Nuggets had. The Detroit Pistons, I'm giving them a D plus. I liked the Kelly Olynyk sign because he's an upgrade over Mason Plumlee, who they originally had. Other than that, nothing to see here much. But since they had a good, draft, I didn't expect much from free agency. Golden State Warriors, I'm giving them a B minus. Trading Eric Pascal for Otto, and then you signing Otto Porter Jr. I feel was kind of a good move. Signing Iguodala is a good move, but once for a minor one that I watched him as a Warrior, and then when the Tears of the Heat, he is declining. Not just on the offensive end, but also on the defense, which he's known for. So he's not the same Iggy he once was. So everyone just keep that in mind. Still a good signing, because Iguodala can still play, but it's just definitely not as he once was. Houston Rockets, I give them a D. I mean, at least you got a good backup center, Daniel Tice, to join you. He can help mentor the young guys, but yeah, didn't make much moves. But since they had a bunch of draft picks, they didn't expect them to. Indiana Pacers, I'm giving them a C. So the Pacers expected to re-sign McConnell, and I was right about that. I predicted that. But then they get Torrey Craig to replace Doug McDermott, who they lost. Which Torrey Craig could get upgrade defensively there, but not as much scoring there. So the problem is, they need another 3-D guy, which Torrey Craig is, but it's just like I'm not sure if the Pacers really got better from this or not. So that's why I give them a C. The Clippers, they get my one and only A plus. Yeah, that's right, A plus. You re-signed all your free agents. Because Kawhi Leonard's going to come back, it's been reported. You re-signed Nicholas Batum. You re-signed Reggie Jackson, which was a big deal. I didn't expect that to happen, but you did. And then you signed a good player who has a big injury history, but if he can play, he's another 3-knee guy, Justice Winslow. So the Clippers did everything they were supposed to in free agency, so they get an A plus. The Lakers, they get a B. Trading for Westbrook I feel like is an upgrade over Schroeder, so that was nice. But I mean, Westbrook's not really much of a playoff player, so take that what you will. And then I don't care that most of their new acquisitions are old players as much as other people do. But I feel like you didn't get enough 3-point shooting. Like, yeah, Malik Monk's a good 3-point shooter. Reza can shoot the three, stuff like that. But there's not, I feel like this is kind of a similar bench to the Lakers last year, where there's some good players, there's some notable names on there, but it's just like they're going to be kind of inconsistent. You don't know who's going to give you what. So that's why I can go in at the B. Miami Heat, I'm giving them A. Obviously, signing and training for Kyle Lowry, giving Duncan Robinson's extension, signing Markieff Morris, re-signing Victor Oladipo, and then signing PJ Tucker. That was a big deal. I did not expect that to happen. I feel like that's a difference maker right there, as we saw Tucker be a difference maker for the Bucks last year. Now again, they didn't get the perfect A plus because I feel like they're not going to win the finals because of these moves, and also I feel like they way overpaid Duncan Robinson, 5-year, $90 million. That's not for a guy. All he can do is just shoot threes and do nothing else. That's just too much. But anyways, next is the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm giving them an A minus. I like that they re-signed Bobby Portis. They signed, good role players like George Hill, Rodney Hood, Sam Ojeleye to 1-year deals. They got traded for Grayson Allen, who's another good 3-point shooter for the Bucks. I feel like the Bucks will be right back in contention to get back to the finals. I mean, as long as Brooklyn, depending on health there. Next is Memphis Grizzlies. I'm giving them a D. So they get Eric Bledsoe and Steven Adams in that, trade right before the draft when they swapped picks and all that. So I feel like Eric Bledsoe is a good veteran point guard who can help out this young roster and young team. Same with Steven Adams at the center position. But other than that, they really didn't make any other free agency acquisitions. So that's why they don't get a passing grade there. Minnesota gets a complete F because they did nothing. They didn't. I'm surprised. Like, you couldn't get at least one noticeable player. Like, really? So yeah, Minnesota. If you do nothing, get an F. New York Knicks. This is kind of generic because for some people they think New York Knicks felt like they had a pretty good free agency, but for some people they didn't. So for me, I'm kind of on the fence there. I'm going with a B minus here because they re-signed all the players they should have. I mean, they lost Reggie Bullock. Better than that, they re-signed all of the players I thought they would, and then they signed Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. So while the Knicks will be upgraded offensively there, it's like you're still not in title contention at all. And you're just going to be stuck in mediocre relevance based off the deals because you're 4 years, $78 million. That's a bad deal. Kemba Walker, what's his health going to be like? So just bad deals overall. So I feel like you're just kind of stuck there in mediocrity. The Pelicans, they get a D minus. Getting Jonas Valanciunas basically replaces Steven Adams, and then trading for Devontae Graham from the Hornets basically replaces Lonzo Ball. But other than that, you didn't really do anything. You didn't get better, which was Zion. The rumors around Zion not happy and all that. You needed to make some big moves, and you didn't. Oklahoma City to get a D minus as well. I know the draft is more important to them, but if you're the Thunder, you need to start treating free agency just as important as the draft because you need a healthy balance of both to become contenders. Orlando Magic, I'm giving them an F. I mean, they signed Robert Lopez, but other than that, they didn't really do anything. And Lopez is not going to be a deciding factor there for Orlando. Philadelphia 76ers, I give them a C minus. They re-signed Danny Green, which I thought was smart because I feel like if he played for the 76ers against Atlanta, they would have been used to conference finals. I feel like Andre Drummond's a good, backup center like Dwight Howard was for them. Georges Niang, while in the playoffs he's questionable, the regular season he's a very good player to have, good 3-point shooting and all that. And then Cork Moss, we saw him in the playoffs. He did something good. He did some things good. Now, the reason why they don't get higher grades is because they really need to trade Simmons, in my opinion, to get for like a Damian Lillard or something like that, or for like some players from picks from Golden State or something like that. They really needed to trade Simmons, and since they didn't do that, that's why they didn't get the higher grade. Phoenix Suns, I'm giving them a C plus, which many of you think is that's a low grade. Getting JaVale McGee for 1 year deal helps because they needed more size. Although it's like I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to contribute for you. And then you obviously re-signed CP3 and Cameron Payne, which you need to. But the problem is you way overpaid for CP3, 4 year, $120 million. That's just too much. So that's why you did. And in the loaded West, I don't feel like you're going to be able to get back to the finals since you had an easy road to get there with players getting injured and all that. So I feel like that's why they get just a C plus, maybe B minus. Portland Trailblazers, I'm giving them a D minus. I mean, you re-signed Norman Powell, which was good. Tony Snell's a good 3D guy. Cody Zeller's a good backup center to counterplay Zach Collins there, but it's just like, you didn't really make any big moves. When Damian Lillard potentially wanted to leave, you had to make those big moves, and you didn't do anything. So if Damian Lillard wants to leave next season, and you're wondering why, this is why. Sacramento Kings, I'll give them a C minus. They re-signed Rashad Holmes, which is good. I remember I wanted him to be in my Mavericks. He's a good center there, but they really didn't make. They signed a good 3D guy, Will Harkless. Other than that, they didn't really do anything else. But again, with the Kings, that's what I expected of them. San Antonio Spurs, I'm giving them a D plus. So getting Forbes and McDermott was great. They needed 3-point shooting. They got that. Getting Thaddeus Young from a trade, Aminu, and then getting Zach Collins from the Blazers. Those are all good role players. But the problem is you lost your best player, DeMar DeRozan. You lost also good veterans in Aldridge and Gay and Mills. So it would not surprise me if they don't even make the play-in tournament next year. Toronto Raptors, I'm giving them a D minus. I mean, you re-signed Gary Trent Jr., which is good. You signed a backup center, Kem Birch, whoopie-doo. You didn't really make any big moves here, which I thought if you're Toronto, you need to make. So now it shows that Toronto's in a clear rebuild mode here. Washington Wizards, I'm giving them a C. I'm not sure what to make of the Wizards because besides Beal, it's like you just have a bunch of C to C plus type of players, a bunch of good role players, but you need something else there in order to be relevant. So way to stay in mediocrity. And I forgot about the Utah Jazz. I'm giving them an A. You may think that's too high, but keep this in mind. They kept Conley. Well, they had to. Not only for a reasonable deal, which is big. Well, not only for like 3 years, which is good, but also for a reasonable deal. Like 3 years, say $2 million is way better than like CP3's deal, for example. And then also they signed a nice 3D guy in Rudy Gay. He can contribute against the Clippers, like Niang could, who was unwatchable. Then they get rid of favors for Whiteside, which Whiteside is a pretty good backup center. He's basically the similar to Rudy Gobert. So now you finally have that backup center position fixed, which is needed to be fixed for years and years if you're the Jazz. And then you trade for Eric Pascal, he's not a sexy player by any means, but he can score a rebound and help the Jazz with a small ball line, which against the Clippers, they desperately needed that small ball lineup, and now they have that option. So now the Jazz can go 10 plus deep, which against the Clippers, they don't have to go like 6 or 7 deep. So it's very good for the Jazz here. So now, this is more, I'm not saying they're going to win championship because it's the Nets, but this is more of a finals or bust year than it was last year. So that's all my grades right there for the free agents. Please let me know what you think of my free agency grades. Please subscribe to my podcast. Tell everyone about me. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.